I think the WWF made a huge mistake with No Holds Barred. They marketed it as a wrestling movie, but I think it would have done a lot better if it were a horror film. Still not sponsored, just addicted, apparently. I think we've established by this point the kinds of things that I enjoy watching. A movie doesn't have to be good for me to find it entertaining. I've really enjoyed some hot garbage movies over the years. Released in 1989, No Holds Barred stars Hulk Hogan as Rip Thomas, professional wrestler and apparently the most famous celebrity in the world. Wrestling is the biggest ratings draw there is, and Rip is its biggest star. Rip has a little brother, Randy, who idolizes him. So does everyone else everywhere. Don't worry, in case you forget, the film is going to remind us of that several times. In this reality, wrestlers have contracts directly with television networks instead of with a federation for some reason, so the suit Brell wants Rip to break his existing contract with a competing network and come join him on the dark side. Confident enough in himself to casually wear a full-body spandex outfit to a business meeting, Rip can't betray his word or his values despite the offer of a literal blank check. Rip refuses in dramatic fashion, leaving Darth Brell seething. Rip leaves the meeting in a limo, only to be rip-napped by the driver. Once they arrive at the abandoned warehouse, because of course that's where they're going, we learn that no cage can hold Rip Thomas. He makes quick work of these dudes before heading back to the station he's currently contracted to. There he meets Samantha, his new account executive. That's the last time I'll mention her job because I literally don't understand what she does other than she works for the network. After what I think is aggressive business flirting, Rip and Samantha go to a fancy restaurant in what looks like an old church. We learn Rip is a man of both morals and culture. Meanwhile, in this health inspector's nightmare, the entertainment suits find themselves a little person in a cage and a new hyper-violent sport. Our head suit, Brell, sees big, flashing dollar signs. It's time for a new show. Any tough guy looking to win $100,000 can step into the octagonal ring and try their luck. What they wind up attracting is a motley crew of ruffians, as well as an absolute psychopath, Zeus. What, you don't see the star quality all over this guy? Brell sure does. Fortunately, our boy Rip can spot a heel from a mile away. The battle of the tough guys is so violent, kids are complaining about nightmares. The budget gets bigger, as does the level of violence. I'm pretty sure the second episode features a straight-up murder. Rip takes Samantha out for another meal, this time flirting up a storm with what I think is the owner. When armed robbers show up to the restaurant, Rip jumps into action. Dude brings a series of delicious-looking pies to a gunfight and wins. After a really awkward and unsexy stay in a motel room, our secret double agent Samantha realizes Rip is a great guy and she doesn't want to work for the suits anymore. Brell does this, and she goes straight to Rip to tell him everything. During this children's event that I'm still unclear what it's for other than to reestablish that Rip is the greatest guy ever, the suits bring Zeus to call Rip out in person. Since Zeus is a straight-up violent murderer and they're surrounded by children and families, Rip elects to stand his ground and stay silent instead of responding to the challenge. Little brother Randy decides he wants to go check out the competition. It, doesn't end well. Distraught, Rip sets out to take Zeus, and the entertainment suits behind him, down for good. While Zeus trains in the craziest way I could imagine, including punching cinder blocks and listening to Brell's bizarre motivational tape,
Death's too good for you.
Rip helps Randy with his physical therapy and recovery. Finally, it's the night of the big match. Everyone is coming to cheer Rip on, including Randy. The suits decide to hold Rip's no longer double agent sexy work lady friend, Samantha, hostage as a threat to get Rip to take a dive during the match. Samantha manages to, quite literally, just walk out of the hostage situation. The most challenging part of her escape is that the elevator down is extremely slow. Without that threat hanging over his head, and motivated by the power of Randy's shaky pinky finger, Rip is free to kick the ever-loving crap out of Zeus. It's not an easy match, and at one point, Zeus escapes the ring and goes on a rampage through the crowd. Eventually, good triumphs over evil. Zeus is defeated, and Brell is next. In a surprising twist, after calling Rip the best insult I think I've ever heard,
You jockeys!
Brell accidentally defeats himself. Everyone celebrates the, I think, deaths of these two men before we fade to black. Isn't that a crazy premise? They imagined a horrifying reality in which TV executives realized that real violence is somehow more profitable than simulated violence, and so they just keep ramping it up and ramping it up in order to make more money. What a wild idea, right? Right?
After the drones,
Probably the most
including its
Reached out and
but it takes
protesting the pre
make the health
launched
Peter say and
find the right.
clear. Third
reality. It's
Ah, crap. Before I get too far ahead of myself, let's start with what's really at the heart of No Holds Barred: professional wrestling. I'm only a couple of years older than this movie, and when I was growing up, one of the biggest insults I remember people hurling at pro wrestling was that it was fake. They would say that and then dismiss the entire sport with it. And if I'm being completely honest, I probably said it at some point when I was a kid too. I'm not sure what the common sentiment about it is these days, but the older that I get, the more bizarre I find the fake argument to really be. Professional wrestlers are athletes who get into a ring and perform complex and extremely dangerous acrobatic maneuvers for our entertainment. Pro wrestling isn't so much a competitive sport as it is an athletic soap opera, I think. Athletes take on the roles of characters and act out storylines and choreography. It's like a violent ballet. This right here is the best Christmas gift that I have ever received. I got it a couple of years ago, I think, from my husband. It was the only gift that he got me for Christmas that year. He was that confident in how much I was going to love this. And honestly, he was spot on. This action figure isn't of Dwayne Johnson. That would be weird. It's of the character that he played, The Rock. We all know full well that there is a difference between the character and the person playing them. So when people were complaining about wrestling being fake, what was the complaint really about? I think what they're implying is that they're unhappy that the violence isn't real, that it's choreographed and staged and planned and practiced for everyone's safety, and thus the results of the matches aren't spontaneous. Well, no duh. If the violence was spontaneous, there would be people dying in the ring all the time. It would be probably one of the most fatal sports on the planet. If the violence were real, it would be the Battle of the Tough Guys. You know, the absolute nightmare TV show that we just talked about. Is that what folks were implying they would need pro wrestling to be in order to check it out? I actually think one of the better things that this film does is it gives us that juxtaposition between the fake violence of wrestling and the real violence of the Battle of the Tough Guys. With all of that being said, I need to level with you. I'm definitely not about to sit here and posit that No Holds Barred predicted any of the things that I'm about to discuss, nor that it was making some big, secret, intentional statement. If I'm keeping it a buck, I think what happened was this wrestling movie accidentally articulated a concept that wound up becoming very important in modern media. Human suffering can be converted into attention, and attention can be converted into money. Now, this isn't a new or modern idea, very far from it, in fact. Some of our oldest forms of entertainment link back to violence and human suffering. Just look at the ancient Romans. They used to come out for this stuff in droves. Throughout history, people have gone to public executions just to watch. Heck, even slapstick comedy exists because there are some forms of violence that we're not just okay with, but we inherently find funny. So what's different today? Why am I talking about modern media and not just human behavior in general? Well, for starters, ease of access. In ancient Rome, you had to physically go down to the Colosseum. In order to see the execution, you had to take yourself to the town square. People putting on these spectacles would remove as many barriers to access as they could, but at the end of the day, the audience still had to physically show up. They had to seek it out with their own feet. You can consume a buffet of violence and suffering 24 hours a day from the comfort of your own home. They can hit you with it when you're not expecting it and then draw you in for more before you even know what's happening. The longer they keep you watching, the more they stand to gain. Ancient Romans couldn't doom scroll. Now, don't hear me say that and then start thinking that what I mean is we should never show images of violence or suffering ever. Quite the contrary. I think that there's a really, really necessary place for that, and it's as a warning to the future. I'll use the Holocaust as an example. If we don't show images of the tragedy and the horrors that happened there, then we wind up with entire groups of people who, I don't know, deny it ever happened. There are some things that you just can't take that risk with, right? What I'm talking about is the 24-hour news cycles and the sensationalist media who keep a constant running stream of these things in front of us at any given moment, where all we have to do is pick what flavor we want it tinged with and click. And the more people click on it, the more money they make, the more eyeballs they get. They build their wealth out of other people wanting to see tragedy. And man, I really wish it were just the broadcast companies doing this. That would make it so much easier to combat. With the help of social media, like our own lovely YouTube, we can exploit ourselves and each other directly. We don't even need a company to do it for us anymore. Drama isn't a fringe genre on YouTube. It's a whole business model. Clickbait and rage bait and drama and gossip and news. It's very lucrative. And unfortunately, it doesn't end there. Do you want to hear what I think is the nastiest version of this? Disclaimer, nothing I'm about to say can be backed with science as far as I'm aware, but hear me out. A group called Breast Cancer Action coined the term pinkwashing in the early 2000s. The term's generally used to describe companies who like to use breast cancer awareness as a way to make their company seem in some way more socially responsible, even though their actual products and business practices may completely contradict that. There's also similar criticism against companies that use the rainbow flag in their marketing. Either way, companies pop a pink ribbon or a rainbow flag on their products and their social media 1 month out of every year. We're supposed to think that every June they love gay people and not gay dollars. And every October, we're supposed to think that they care really deeply about this one specific kind of cancer that happens to predominantly affect women. The idea is that doing this gives the impression that the company is more socially responsible and like concerned about the welfare of the general population, right? They care about you and they care about people and the causes that are important to us. I think it might be a lot worse than that. Are you familiar with the old adage, sex sells? When they pop a pink ribbon on something, do they think we believe their company cares about women and cancer research? Or are they hoping that our easily programmable reptile brains will see that pink ribbon and immediately think about tits? Seriously, think about it. I don't see companies putting like colorectal cancer research ribbons on their products. They all choose breast cancer. I believe that they take these symbols that are tied to actual human suffering, actual things that people have been negatively impacted by, and they use it in their marketing to make money. They try to use our feelings and sometimes our instinctive horniness in order to get our dollars, because it's a lot easier to slap a pink ribbon on a package of cookies than a scantily clad woman. I know that it's a nasty thing to speculate about, but I can't unthink the thought. So, do I think that No Holds Barred is secretly some cinematic masterpiece? No. No, I don't. I don't. But in the way that a broken clock is still right twice a day, I think that this movie unintentionally did something a lot bigger than it meant to. It was supposed to make a movie star out of Hulk Hogan. Instead, what it did was force us to confront some extremely uncomfortable truths about ourselves as a species. If a film can do that and give me Hulk Hogan doing this,
There you see, Rip.
I'm in. Now, because of the general nature of this film and the many, many, many number of people that were involved, the rabbit holes for this one kind of went all over the place. First, the movie was directed by a man named Thomas J. Wright. His list of credits is pretty legit, and it's mostly centered around television work. Now, I was born in the late 80s, but I was raised by parents who were a little bit older. Like, the dad that raised me was born in the late 40s. So my, pop culture references and stuff tend to skew a little bit older. Because of that, I'm not sure how many of you watching this will be familiar with a show called Night Gallery from the 60s. It's an old Rod Serling anthology, as the same guy who did Twilight Zone. It's similar, except every story was based on like a scary painting. Apparently, Thomas J. Wright created the majority of the paintings for that show. I'm going to leave a link below to a website called dangerousminds.net. They have a page that features some of the most iconic paintings from that show. The paintings span across different styles and techniques, and they really do look like they were each painted by like a different individual artist. I think looking at them all together, keeping in mind that it was one dude who made them all, is incredibly impressive. Secondly, the website WrestleCrap.com has a 36,000-word essay from a dude named Greg Grant. I'm going to leave a link to it below. It's a fascinating read. There's this whole pretty well-known legend where Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon got a copy of the script for No Holds Barred, hated it, and then decided to go to a hotel room together, stayed awake for 3 days, and rewrote the whole thing. Well, apparently, Greg got a hold of a copy of a Dennis Hacken draft from before Hulk and Vince got their hands on it. There are some fascinating differences. I'm not going to spoil anything. It really is worth it to go read all 36,000 words. All I will say is, I think we might be lucky that this is the version of the film that we got. Greg's analysis is honestly great, and I think he beautifully summed up the tonal disconnect that happens in moments of levity in the film by calling them the cinematic equivalent of having someone play the slide whistle and juggle while an 8-year-old is suffocated by his drunken stepfather in the background. Vivid, but accurate. Also, I'm going to go on a little rant here for just a second. I saw on the IMDb for this film that it's actually rated lower than Suburban Commando, another Hulk Hogan film from 1991, I believe. For the life of me, I cannot understand that. I can't just give any old piece of media the treatment that I do in these essays, right? It has to have something already in the story for my brain to latch on to. I actually watched Suburban Commando for the first time just the other day, curious to see if I could build an essay around it. I thought the premise was actually kind of promising. But no, I could not build an essay around it. There was nothing there for me to work with. Personally, I think that that's very telling. Rant over. Lastly, can we talk about Jesse Ventura's cameo in this movie real quick? He's only in the opening bit as a commentator, and of course he's playing himself. That thing on his head, that wasn't just a weird costume choice for the movie. That was a part of his regular costume rotation at the time. Seriously, go Google Jesse Ventura wrestling costumes. I'll wait. Ignoring all of the politics and divisiveness that comes with talking about him, can we all agree that this is what big dick energy looks like visually? The amount of confidence that it must take for someone to leave the house looking like this has got to be staggering. And with that, I have nothing left on No Holds Barred. I will leave a link down below where you can watch the movie free with ads on Tubi. It's worth checking out at least once in your life. Tubi, I'm not giving up on us. Thank you so much for joining me today. If there are any other movies or anything that you think I should be checking out, let me know down below. I'm curious. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff down in the place. And as always,
Jesus and I love you, Joe.
Jesus and I love you too, Lise.
Jesus and I love you. Later, y'all.